Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Wednesday, January 1st, 2025. Happy New Year. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today as we're looking at progressively colder shots that'll be coming down here across the nation. We'll give you the latest on that information. We're going to be tracking our first major snowstorm coming in for the weekend, and yeah, we'll go ahead and talk about specific potential snow totals with this one. And then we're also going to talk about the uncertainty remaining high for anything as far as long-range forecasting is concerned. We'll get into specifics on that as well. So as we take a look at our current satellite imagery right now, we got a storm system here kind of exiting up here toward the northeast. So you get a little bit of snow here coming around parts of the Great Lakes. We also got some intermountain snows here across the west coast as well. Pretty quiet across the southeast, and again, we've got a pretty good moisture stream that's going to continue here across Northern California and into Oregon, so that will continue to remain pretty wet and rainy here in the days ahead. Looking at your current watches and warnings, pretty breezy here up along the eastern seaboard. That's that tan color there, bringing those windy conditions, a little bit of winter weather there as well, across the northeast, as well as out to here in the west. See a little purple out here as well to begin our Wednesday. All right, let's go look at our surface map here as, boy, we're getting some of that colder air starting to intrude up here. Starting to see 1 degree, 7 degrees. So starting to get some of that real Arctic air that's going to start be spilling down, coming at us at waves. And we had that initial cool down, which is kind of knocking temperatures down to at least more seasonable levels in some locations. And this will continue to be the problem here. Again, we're a little stormy out here on the west coast. Let's go ahead and take a look up here into the northeast. We do have a little bit of this snow here, mixed with a little bit of rain here across Buffalo and Townsend area. And the snows across the Great Lakes, they're definitely going to be picking up here, especially as those progressively colder air masses begin to amass and move in across this region. Let's go take a look at the latest from the Storms Prediction Center. Is really not going to see much in the way of thunderstorms here for the next several days. The only location you have to worry about here for today is really just this little slither up here in Maine and up toward Massachusetts. That's going to be about it. So looks like we're going to be okay with the thunderstorms here for the next few days. I do expect those to come back, though, as we head into this upcoming weekend, and I'll show you why here in just a second. Now, one thing that we're going to continue to see is out on the west coast is we're going to continue to see this that propagation of moisture. It's going to continue to pound this area out here into Northern California and into Oregon. So that'll continue to be a problem. This is your day one outlook for excessive rainfall. So obviously a possibility of some, a little bit of flooding, a possibility in there as well. So as we take a look at the day two, doesn't really change much, same general area, and the day three, those they're going to continue to be that target zone as that stream of moisture continues to move in off the Pacific and into Northern California and parts of Southern Oregon. Now, the one thing that did change substantially yesterday on the hazards outlook is what we're seeing in the 3 to 7 day outlook. A couple things I want to point out, obviously, is the intense cold air coming up here. We have this snow track right through here, which we're going to talk about specific snow amounts here in a second there across the middle of the country. The extreme cold kind of moving in here across portions of Florida. And again, we continue with those rainy conditions out here in obviously the California area that we just showed you. So those are some of the highlights there as far as the potential hazards here over the next several days. So the first thing we're going to look at here is the short-term model. We're looking at the high-resolution model. It's going to take you about 40 hours here. And the things we're going to be watching, obviously, we're going to say goodbye to this system here. That'll be kind of exiting out. And we're going to continue to watch these waves of moisture coming in here on the west coast. That'll kind of be moving and pressing inland. So again, watch that timestamp there in that upper right-hand corner as we go and take you forward here as we see the snows kind of increasing there across areas of the Northeast and the Great Lakes. So we get a little bit of lake effect here. It'll be kicking in here. This moisture will be kind of moving inland here, and we'll continue to see the moisture stream out on the west coast. So some of that energy will work its way inland with some of those systems out on the west coast as we go into your Thursday. Notice we get a little bit of snows here erupting across portions of Iowa, a little bit back over here toward Colorado as well as we look at your Thursday morning. This is about 11 o'clock right here. So as we could take this again throughout the day on your Thursday, as a lot of folks will be heading on back to work, seeing that snow getting into the Chicagoland area by late in the day there, about 7 o'clock or so, getting near Chicago there, and that'll be pushing off toward the east there, moving in toward Indiana and Ohio. And boy, that moisture stream just continues to pound California and moving inland there along the west coast. So that is our short range model. Now let's talk about the longer range, and this is where things get a little kind of crazy. And this is why I said the forecasting long range is going to continue to be a little bit problematic, and I'll explain why here in a second. As one thing's for sure, we're evolving into a cold weather pattern. Obviously, you see this jet energy, which is going to be bringing down the colder air across the initial surge here on Friday. We got one little front coming down on Friday, and then we got another one coming down as we head towards Sunday. So this energy that's right back here, this little trough here, this is going to be bringing in that snow event, that snowstorm we're looking at heading in toward Sunday. So as this pulls out into the plains, it's going to be tapping some cold air with it. It's going to be dragging it down. And along the path on the north part of this we're going to be watching that snow risk here across a fairly a small area here, not very thick zone of snow. So any deviation in that track can make big differences on who gets to see it and who doesn't. So this is going to be pulling on toward the east and bringing some cold air with it as we go into early next week. Then this is when the models get a little crazy here. And this is why I'm thinking anything beyond 6-7 days is going to get a little crazy. What the Europeans doing here, it's pinching off this energy down here into the southwest, cutting off an upper level low here. This was the energy that a lot of the long-range models were trying to perhaps bring a snow into the southeast and do some crazy things. And this model here is doing something a little odd that I see. It's pinching off this low into the southwest completely. I mean, it cuts it off completely going in toward the 11th. Obviously, you still got that cold surge coming in here on the 10th and 11th. So it pinches it off for a day or two, and then it reabsorbs it back in and kicks it back out. I don't know. That doesn't look very realistic to me in my sense. Then it tries to pinch, it looks like it tries to pinch off another one out here. So I don't think the models are doing very well, at least the European right now, beyond 6-7 days, as it's doing some very weird things. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of credence on that. So you need to stay tuned for these updates, at least here for the short term. So let's go ahead and focus in on the next 7 days. That's where we're kind of, we got a pretty good feeling on what's going to be happening here. So we're saying goodbye to that system again in the northeast. We already talked about that. So going into your Thursday, as many folks are heading back to work, not looking too bad across the country, except for the West Coast, obviously, where they're going to continue to see that onslaught of moisture out here, and the interior sections will continue to see that higher elevation snows. Now, as you're going throughout the day on Friday, we'll see, again, a cold shot coming down here. It may bring in some snows here across portions of the Appalachians and some of the Midwest there. Nothing overly high there with that reinforcing shot of some colder air that's coming through there. And then we'll watch this developing storm system on Sunday. This is the one that'll bring in the decent snows here as this low pressure pulls on out. Now, where this thing tracks is going to be critical here, because wherever it deviates north and south, that snow path will adjust as well. As we go in through Sunday and into Monday. This is going to move from Kansas and move straightly off toward the east. So it's going to move off toward the east here. This is a little bit further north than what I was seeing earlier. So right now it's tracking this direction and moving around through. So we're looking at a path here. It looks like basically from Virginia back over toward Kansas. It's going to be a kind of a narrow band, but it could be pretty good, decent snows in that area. And then we'll show you the snow totals here in just a second as that moves on through, and then it moves on off. And then we're going to go out here to about, again, by the time we head toward Tuesday morning next week, we got pretty cold air established here in place. Here is our polar vortex low up here, but not dropping down as far south. So the European, I am agreeing with the European here on the temperature part of this, not nearly as cold as what it's been showing. And again, as I mentioned in my yesterday's report, we just don't have a good snowpack on the ground, folks, and that air is going to modify quite a bit. So it is going to stay cold going into next week. Now, beyond this time, going into Wednesday, this is where the speculation comes in. We got that upper level low here trying to pinch off down here across the southwest. What if it doesn't? Okay, what if it does not bury itself down there? If it doesn't, then obviously that's going to open up a lot of potential winter weather scenarios here, especially across parts of Texas. Looks like you get a little bit in here on Wednesday, and then it kind of goes away. So again, I don't have a good feel for the models beyond 7 day because of that system. It could bury itself, but it's something that's looked a little unusual to me to see. We still got this cold shot coming on down here going toward the 11th. So this is on the Saturday, the 11th here. Notice we're bringing in some light snows here across portions of Alabama and Georgia. That's probably the best chance I see there, but it doesn't look like it'll be overly heavy if it was to occur, going out to about 252 hours there. And then we'll see if that low gets reabsorbed back in. Here comes, it gets absorbed back in and then comes back up into the plains, again, going out toward the 14th. So anything, again, beyond 7 to 14 days, which is what we're looking at right now, is, again, speculative at this point, and we'll see what happens, because I'm just not buying that low getting buried into the southwest for right now. Could be wrong, but I just don't see that happening. like that. I've never, usually when the upper low gets pinched off, it gets pinched off and stays there, or just kind of wanders. This thing's going to pinch off, get absorbed back in within a day or two. It's kind of weird, kind of a weird looking setup, okay? All right, let's talk about the thunderstorm potential here. It's probably the only time I'll need to show you this, is going in towards Sunday with that storm system on Sunday. Now, we'll say this looks like a general thunderstorm. Does not look as high as it was been showing the last couple of days. I was worried about maybe a marginal or a slight risk for severe weather. I'm not seeing that today as bad. Couldn't rule it out, but I don't think it's going to be as bad. Just a general thunderstorm risk. If we get anything, maybe a marginal risk for severe weather for this as this comes on through. But once this moves on through with the pattern that's moving in, we're not going to have to worry about any thunderstorms here, especially as we get deeper into the month of January. All right, let's talk about the potentials for precipitation. We're going to look at your first 72 hours here first. We'll take you on out to the next 3 days, and as you take it out to right about here, okay, you'll see some of this will be in the form of snow up here as well, heavy rains out here, and so a few intermountain snows. Then we're going to be watching this target zone in here where that heavy precipitation is going to break out as we go through the weekend. So here it comes, boom, right through there, through Kansas, Missouri, and over into West Virginia and Virginia. That part right in here may be in some form of winter precipitation. It is a narrow band, but a pretty decent amount at this. But again, any deviation in that track, north or south, it could be snow heaven or snow bust. That's how critical that path's going to be here. So I'm going to take this all the way out to about 240 here, going out 10 days, and that's what we're looking at precipitation-wise next 10 days here. A little rain here across the south. Obviously, we've got some mountain snows out here in the west and out here into the northeast. So let's look at the snow totals. We'll break that down for you here. Let's talk about the snow here. All right, so going for the next 72 hours here for the next 3 days. Again, as we look at that, we're going to see obviously some pretty decent snows here across New England, parts of the Great Lakes kicking in there, intermountain snows out here in the west, obviously with that continued stream of moisture coming in off the west coast. Then we'll start turning our attention past Saturday. We'll watch this development here of the snow. Here it is, starts to form about, looks like Sunday morning here on the European. So Sunday morning, it starts to break out here across Kansas and Missouri on Sunday morning, and this will track from west to east right through that heart, right going right through ports of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and into northern Kentucky, and then going right in toward West Virginia and Virginia, going right through Monday. So this is the corridor for some pretty decent snows that we might see in this area. In fact, let me pull up the U.S. Central region here a little bit so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So looks like anything in this pink, you're looking at maybe 8 upwards of 10 inches of snow in that zone right there. So going from Kansas all the way over into the west coast. Let me switch over to the east coast here. Look at the east. Yeah, continuing to up to 10 inches range of snow there into Virginia as well. So a pretty narrow path of some pretty decent snows. Again, we'll have to watch the models closely day by day. If it shifts further south, the snow track will be further south. If the track's further north, the snow will shift further north. So stay tuned for updates on that. This is our first, I would call our first really major snowstorm here of 2025 that we're going to watch here with this. Then we're going to go ahead and take this on out to 252. Again, we saw that just for you snow lovers in the south. I'm just going to take this out here a little bit just to make my point. Yes, you might see a little light snow here across the south, but it's not going to amount to much, folks. We're talking about maybe a slight dusting in the North Georgia mountains showing at this point, but nothing substantial, nothing like some of the stuff that was being thrown around on social media here the last few days. And this is still 11 days out. So again, that's subject to change on that if that cold blast comes down at that time. So let's go ahead and talk about the temperatures here. Again, the trend here obviously is that we're going to keep it below normal. Those blues and greens, those are your below normal temperatures here. You get into that deep purples, you're really talking about some serious cold here. So we're talking about the cold here. We got a little warm up here. This is that storm system watching right here. And that's why I'm thinking we might see a few thunderstorms in that where we get the clash of the air masses taking place in there going throughout the day on Sundays. This pushes off toward the east. You see the brief warm up here across the southeast going into Sunday night into Monday. So you get a brief warm up there for Alabama and Georgia, but don't get used to it. It's going to go away real quick as the cold air invades back into Monday. In fact, a lot of high temperatures in the south on Monday will be early in the day and then falling temperatures there as it looks like we're going into next week as I take this out to about 180. Again, that's 7 days out. We're looking at below normal temperatures. Now, going out beyond that, going out from basically 7 and 8, going all the way out toward 14, 15, there are some indications, maybe a little bit of a pattern shift here. And as I take this all the way out, you'll see why. We get the reinforcing shot. And here comes another shot coming down here on the 11th and 12th coming in. Florida definitely is going to be very frigid, unusually cold for them for a while. But then as I go all the way out here, you notice we're starting to see more blues and greens out here in the west a little bit. So maybe indications of a slight change in the weather pattern, a little bit milder here in the east. So we'll see if that's indications of a potential shift in the overall pattern as we head toward the 15th of January. So something I'm going to watch to see if that continues to be a forecast model trend. In the meantime, we're going to continue to see that below normal temperatures to stay with us. That's the latest from the Climate Prediction Center, the 6 to 10 day outlook issued yesterday, the last day of 2024. Again, basically the eastern 2/3, we're looking at below normal temperatures, just milder out here on the west coast. That doesn't really change all that much as we go from January 8th to the 14th. And beyond the 14th, again, if that trend holds, this might start to change a little bit. We may start to shift this back further toward the west as we go deeper into the month. Precipitation-wise, drier out here on the west coast. I don't know about this 6 to 10. That moisture surge looks pretty good, but they're trying to dry it out here on the west coast a little bit. And then for the deeper period here, 8th to the 14th, for folks hoping to see some snow like in the south, can't get snow if it's dry, folks. You got some very dry Arctic air settling in here. And with us not being able to really tap anything out of the Gulf of Mexico or seeing an upper level kind of bury itself in the southwest, you're not going to get anything. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll see if this trend continues. But right now, looking pretty dry across a big portion of the country, which is a little unusual to see going here toward the middle of January. So we'll see what the new update later this afternoon about 3 o'clock shows on that long-range projection right now here across the country. Very unusual weather pattern that we're definitely settling in right now. And because it's so unusual and because of the inconsistencies with the models that have been running pretty high here, it's going to continue to be a forecast battle for us meteorologists to try to pin this stuff down for you guys and keep you up to date on this winter weather. The one thing we know for sure, it's going to be cold, and we got our first decent snow map that I can say we've got a pretty good feel, pretty good track and lock on. We're close enough now. So we're looking at that snow event coming in on Sunday and kind of going through Tuesday, early Tuesday next week. They're cutting across the middle of the country. Again, that track shift of any degree, north or south, will be a snow bust or snow fantasy for a lot of folks because it's a pretty narrow band of some pretty good heavy snows that'll be cutting across the country. Now, if you'd like to keep up on the latest on these changes, because they're going to come a lot, they're going to come hot and fast at you, please go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, if there's something you'd like to see in this product, please leave a comment down below, leave a statement, and let me know what you feel. If you got a question, I'll be more than happy to answer your question as well. That's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next report. Bye-bye for now.